My favorite prophet, Prophet Elijah. What do we do when we go on a mission with God? Let's get right into this video. When God gives you that peace, you will rest in his security, his protection, his comfort, his love. Welcome back, guys, to another video. Today I am coming at I'm at a monotone. This is not a teaching really to you, but this video is not a teaching to you pretty much, but it's really teaching me. This is something that I need to tell myself, and I'm sharing it with you because I think that it'll be helpful and it'll be important. Elijah is one of my favorite prophets, and I think that he's awesome. I think the scriptures bring out a lot of issues with prophets, and particularly myself. And Elijah did amazing things, but there was questions. There was a question that rose through my mind is, though he was afraid after doing the missions with God. So I'm going to be studying, and you're going to actually see me study and out loud and read and me ask the questions. And you're going to see me how I do it. So we're going to be reading from 1 Kings chapter 18. We're going to read down the whole chapter of 18. And then I think we're going to jump over to like 19 or something like that. But you'll see as we go along. And then you'll see why I picked this and why Elijah was so afraid that he had the backing of God, but why was he so afraid? So this is really a teaching of myself, and it's a study of myself. So I'm just bringing along with the journey. Maybe it might help you, maybe it may not, but I think it's going to be awesome. So let's get right into this. So reading 1 Kings 18, starting at 1. Later on in the 3rd year of the drought, the Lord said, Elijah, go and present yourself to King Ahab. Tell him that I will soon send rain. So Elijah went to appear before Ahab. Meanwhile, the famine had become very severe in Samaria. So Ahab summoned Obadiah, who was in charge of the palace. Obadiah was a devoted follower of the Lord. Once, when Jezebel had tried to kill all the Lord's prophets, Obadiah had hidden 100 of them in 2 caves. He put 50 prophets in each cave and supplied them with food and water. Ahab said to Obadiah, we must check every spring and valley in the land to see if we can find enough grass to save at least some of my horses and mules. So they divided the land between them, and Ahab went one way by himself, and Obadiah went another way by himself. As Obadiah was walking along, he suddenly saw Elijah coming towards him. Obadiah recognized him at once and bowed low to the ground before him. Is it really you, my lord Elijah? He asked. Yes, it is me, Elijah replied. Now go and tell your master Elijah is here. Oh, sir, Obadiah protested. What harm have I done to you that you are sending me to my death at the hand of Ahab? For I swear by the Lord your God that the king has searched every nation and kingdom on earth from end to find you. And each time he was told Elijah isn't here, King Ahab forced the king of that nation to swear to the truth of his claim. And now you say, go and tell your master Elijah is here, but as soon as I leave you, the Spirit of the Lord will carry you away to who knows where. When Ahab comes and cannot find you, he will kill you. He will kill me. Yet I have been a true servant of the Lord all my life. Has no one told you, my Lord, about the time when Jezebel was trying to kill the Lord's prophet? I hid 100 of them in 2 caves and supplied them with food and water. And now you say, go and tell your master Elijah is here? Sir, if I do that, Ahab will certainly kill me. But Elijah said, I swear by the Lord Almighty, in whom presence I stand, that I will present myself Ahab this very day. So Obadiah went in to tell Ahab that Elijah had come, and Ahab went out to meet Elijah. When Ahab saw him, he exclaimed, so it is really you troublemaker of Israel. I have made no trouble for Israel. Elijah replied, you and your family are troublemakers. for you have refused to obey the commands of the Lord and have worshiped the image of Baal instead. How many times as a prophet people call you a troublemaker, or you making trouble? How many times have you ever been accused of that? Most prophets are accused of causing trouble, and that's the mission that prophets go on, and that's what happens. So let's continue on verse 19. Now summon all Israel to join me at Mount Carmel, along with the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah who are supported by Jezebel. So Ahab summoned all the people of Israel and the prophets to Mount Carmel, my favorite. Then Elijah stood in front of them and said, how much longer will you waver, hobbling between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, then follow him. But the people were completely silent. Then Elijah said to them, I am the only prophet of the Lord who is left, but Baal has 450 prophets. Now bring 2 bulls, and the prophets of Baal may choose whichever one they wish, and cut it into pieces and lay it on the wood of their altar, but without setting fire to it. I will prepare the other bull, lay it on the wood on the altar, but not set fire to it. Then call on the name of your God, and I will call on the name of the Lord. The God who answers by setting fire to the wood is the true God. And all the people agreed. Straight setup. Straight setup. Like, set them up so bad. Straight setup. He is dangerous. This prophet and God, them working together, was dangerous. Then Elijah said, so we're going to verse 25. So then Elijah said to the prophet of Baal, you go first, for there are so many of you. Oh my God, he's so setting them up. Choose one of the bulls and prepare it, and call on the name of your God, but do not set fire to the wood. So then, oh my God. Oh God. So they prepared one of the bulls and placed it on the altar. And then they called on the name of Baal from morning until noontime, shouting, "Oh Baal, answer us." But there was no reply of any kind. Then they danced, hobbling around the altar they had made. About noontime, Elijah began mocking them. Oh, this is the great part. Every time I read this is great. So Elijah began mocking them. You have to shout louder. You have to shout louder. He scoffed. For surely he is a god. Perhaps he is daydreaming or relieving himself, or maybe he is away on a trip or asleep or needs to be awakened. So they shouted louder and followed their normal customs. They cut themselves with knives and swords until the blood gushed out of them. They raved all afternoon until the time of the evening sacrifice. But still there were no sound, no reply, no response. Then Elijah called the people, "Come over here." They all crowded around him, and he repaired the altar of the Lord that he had been torn down. He took 12 stones, one to represent each of the tribes of Israel, and he used the stones to rebuild the altar in the name of the Lord. Then he dug a trench around the altar large enough to hold about 3 gallons. He piled wood on the altar, cut the bull into pieces, and laid the pieces on the wood. Then he said, fill 4 large jars with water and pour the water over the offering and the wood. After they had done this, he said, do the same thing again. And when they were finished, he said, now do it a 3rd time. So they did as he said. And the water ran around the altar and even filled the trench. At the usual time for offerings and evening sacrifice, Elijah, then the prophet, walked up to the altar and prepared, O Lord, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, prove today that you are God of Israel and that I am your servant. Prove that I have done all this at your command. O Lord, answer me, so these people will know that you, O Lord, are God, and that you have brought them back to yourself. Immediately, the fire of the Lord flashed down from the heavens and burned up the young bull, the wood, the stones, and the dust, even licked up all the water in the trench. And when all the people saw, they fell face down on the ground and cried out, "The Lord, he is God. Yes, the Lord is God." Then Elijah commanded, "Seize all the prophets of Baal. Don't let a single one escape." So the people seized them all, and Elijah took them down to the Kishon Valley and killed them there. So we see in this how heroic, how Elijah being used by God, they did amazing things. They brought back the lost people of Israel. They brought back those lost people because they were so stuck in idolatry. They were worshiping a false god. They were being ruled over a prophetess, Jezebel, a queen that believe in this false prophet, this false gods, these 450 prophets, and the king of Israel, Ahab, was allowing this to happen. And all these people have fell away and has committed idolatry against God. But yet again, God comes, and when he comes to save his people and bring them back. And he used that person. He used Elijah to make that happen. Elijah has so many situations within the Bible to be like, all right, I stand firm. I stand firm. This is what it is. But let's skip down. Let's skip down 1 Kings chapter 19. And we're going to read this for a little bit. It's not going to be long. It's just going to be a little bit. Then we're going to get into what the discussion is. So 1 Kings chapter 19 verses 1, and it reads, when Ahab got home, he told Jezebel, she was the ruler. She was the true ruler. Ahab got home and told Jezebel everything Elijah had done, including the way he had killed all the prophets of Baal. So Jezebel sent this message to Elijah: "May the gods strike me and even kill me if by this time tomorrow I have not killed you, just as you killed them." Elijah was afraid, fled for his life. Elijah was afraid and fled for his life. He went to Beersheba, a town in Judea, and he left his servant there. Then he went on alone into the wilderness, traveling all day. He sat down under the solitary broom tree and prayed that he might die. "I have had enough, Lord," he said. "Take my life, for I'm no better than my ancestors who have already died." That's where we're going to end. How can this prophet, how can this man do all these amazing things, call down rain, halt rain, do all these things, call on the Lord to lick up the altar, but when he's doing his mission, when he's on his mission, after he completes his mission, and the very people that he went up against threatens him and he flees? This is not a man. This is not a person. This is not a person that is a fraidy cat or anything like that. This is a person that was doing the will of God, letting God use him, doing a mission with God. And how many times have you been on a mission with God? God directed you to do something, and you've been on that mission, and you get nervous. You get scared after you know you went up against somebody or something. And you get nervous, you get scared, you get petrified. You like, oh boy, they coming after me. They gonna get me. Oh my God, they gonna get me. Anger the hornet's nest. And you realize in that moment of time, you're not thinking, God has my back. He's with me. We just did all these things. But when fear and anxiety and trembles start to flood into your heart and your mind and your emotions, you fail to see the amazing mission that you and God has went on and that God has achieved through you. And that's deep. That's something serious. I have been on these type of missions but I have never been on a mission like this. God put in my heart to defend a person. He says, I got in my mind, it was like, I got to defend this person. I'm about to defend this person, and never talked to the person ever, and was like, I'm going to defend them. I've been instructed to defend him and to give him a defense, and I am going to do exactly that. After a while, the person that I was exposing, after I did it, I didn't know what to do after that. I just knew to just do it. But when I started to see the backlash, the comeback, all the people start attacking me, all of what I just did to defend the person had went out the window. How God helped me to reveal the Bible teachings, the biblical understanding of why I was defending that person. And you ever go on a mission with God and you get so fearful and you just start getting nervous and you start crying out to him, you start praying, and you don't know what to do. That reminds me of Elijah. That reminds me of Elijah, that all his achievements that he did. And even myself, I see myself, tag, that's how it really is, that you go on a mission and you standing up against evil people or evil things or evil situations, and you're only doing God's will. But it's almost like you gotta now prepare yourself that from the backlash and stand strong. And you have a most powerful person like Elijah being able to fall victim to his emotions and him being scared and the threats of evil people. And that's where we have to master. That's what I have to master. And I have no notes about this. I'm just winging it because this is something that was in my heart. This is something that I struggle with, like anybody, or like specifically like Elijah, that he has so much experience. He was so gifted and he was doing the will of God, and horror creeped into his life. Scaredness. I think he was petrified. But the great thing about it is God showed up. God showed up, and his angels showed up to build him back up, to help him get some food and get something to drink so he can carry on his mission. And that's the great thing about looking at Elijah's situation, is because he's amazing, that every time that he's been threatened and he's been scared and he's been petrified and he's escaped to caves and hiding in caves and everything else like that, every time God has always been there for him, picked him up and told him, now let's go do the next mission. I think that that's amazing. I think that that's awesome. I think it's the great thing, and it's amazing, especially when you fall short or you feel like you fell short because you let all these emotions creep into you. But he builds you back up and say, all right, let's go to the next mission. You be like, yes, sir. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just love this. I had to share this with you. I had to show you this. It's been on my mind, and this is this video is more of a recording for me, to remind me of when that stuff happens to me again, I know what to do. That I never lose focus of what I'm supposed to do. And I hope that it helped you. You got to see a little bit of what I do and what I dive into and how I apply the Bible to myself. And hopefully you do the same. God bless you and God bless your family. Bye.